everybody, and welcome to Ladies of the PGS. I am your host, Artem, and of course, we have with us today Lorena Creole. How are you today?
Well, I am doing great, doing fine, doing wonderful, and so glad to be here with you on Ladies of the PGS and you guys out there in the audience.
Absolutely, Lorena. And certainly, we have had a pretty well established, well advertised film come out this weekend. You just did a review of this film. Both you and I have seen this film. It is very interesting to kind of think about a film that we've been seeing advertisements for. Stars this incredibly smoking hot new star. Well, maybe he's not that new. He's been in Cobra Kai for like 5 or 6 years
That's
now.
true. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You can't ignore this guy. I think he played Miguel in Cobra Kai.
Yes. Yes, he did.
We're talking about Zolo, and we are talking about Blue Beetle. And Lorena, over the weekend, you and I did a watch party together, and we had a chance to even talk briefly about Blue Beetle. You went to see
Hmm.
the film. You did a review. There's a review on your channel right now, guys. If you want to see Lorena's review, please do check that out on her channel. But we are also going to talk a little bit about it here because it is very interesting. To be honest with you, I don't know. I think that the film is actually making bank, 25 million. I think domestically, 20 million internet, overseas. So the whole package around $45 million. I don't think that's so bad, and I hope it continues to make money. But when I was talking to you this weekend, Lorena, I felt like they missed a big opportunity to release this film on Memorial Day when kids are coming home from graduation, either high school or college, and you've graduated and you're going to go to the movies. You're going to do those fun things with your family. This would have been the
Hmm.
perfect film around that time. What do you think, Lorena?
I think DC had a pecking order that they had already figured out how they were going to release their movies. They came out with Shazam Fury of the Gods first, which I finally saw on HBO Max. Then, of course, The Flash, which was in the middle. So it was pretty obvious they were not going to move The Flash. So the only other two films, well, let's put it this way, initially there was only one other film, and that was Shazam Fury of the Gods, because Blue Beetle was only supposed to be on HBO Max. And this is my theory. My theory in $2 can barely get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks, right? So that's always what I say. I think Blue Beetle went to a theatrical release because of how disappointing the box office was for Shazam 2 and for The Flash. So I think that this release date that they had was the only one left that was viable. And again, because Blue Beetle was not originally slated for theatrical release.
Interesting. And certainly you make a good point here. We have seen a lot of releases that have not quite performed the way that, the studios, I'm sure, thought they were going to perform. And
Hmm.
certainly, I don't know what the expectation from Blue Beetle was. And you say that, and it did kind of feel like it could have been a Disney Plus release.
Yeah, it was kind of like more like on the CW type of level, and that's because again originally supposed to be on HBO Max instead.
Absolutely, guys. And thank you, Tom, for posting that. The link for Lorena's Blue Beetle review is here in the chat. So please do also check that out. And I have to wonder, Lorena, when we see this movie, and it does feel like it's supposed to be a superhero movie. The name, the title, I
Hmm.
don't even know if the poster implies it, but one thing that stuck out to me about this film is that it doesn't necessarily feel like a superhero movie. It feels more like a family adventure movie. And ironically, as far as I could tell, even though Zolo is the star of the film, it doesn't feel
Hmm.
like there's any one star that stands out above any of the others. I mean, what do you think? Does it feel like a superhero movie to you?
It does not. And in my review, what I said is that this is an excellent family movie for all of the reasons that you have mentioned. A great ensemble cast, a very attractive, likable young man as the titular character, great messages of family, self-esteem, wanting to bring together the community, tolerating your relatives even when they do really embarrassing stuff, like roll up to your first job and everybody's out there, you know, trying to cheer you, try to cheer you on. It's a perfect family film. But as for a superhero film, I just thought it was really, really mediocre. It was missing the elements that I felt would have made it a true superhero film. And on top of that, you had a villain that really wasn't that really wasn't a villain. And the way they did it, they kind of gave it the Iron Man treatment. So it was it failed in that part for me, which is a shame because it's like it was so good on other parts, and I think it shined so well as a family film that it's like the superhero part was kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, absolutely, Lorena. And I even went so far over the weekend, as you and I were talking, to describe this as almost as a coming of age film. And
Mhm.
the reason why I described it as a coming of age film was because there's a scene where Zolo is about to kiss his beautiful leading lady in the film, and they're in his room, and they're
Jenny. I just throw that out there.
exactly. It's about to happen. The uncle pops in, and he knew they were there. Like kind of like, what are you guys up to? And so that made me think that it was more of a coming of age. And then the next thought in my mind was they are trying to pull in younger viewers, which is great too. I mean, that's fine too to
Mhm,
do that.
absolutely.
And I think a lot of kids will relate to this. I think they'll say, wow, what a great adventure coming home from school, going home, that summer after graduation or whatever
Mhm.
summer it is always exciting. Maybe even the summer before graduation or however you want to put it into perspective. But certainly he's such an innocent, sweet character in this story that, and of course he has these like smoking hot good looks that, you almost can't take your eyes off of Solo in the film. He is very easy to watch. He's entertaining. He's just such a gentleman in this film, and I think he really does have a fantastic career, regardless of how
Absolutely.
this movie performed,
Absolutely.
right, Lorena?
Absolutely. Another thing that I said in my review is that Zolo's performance is so good, but then again, we've seen him in Cobra Kai, so it wasn't surprised how well he pulled this off. I really felt that the script let him down in a way because he is so good. I mean, he can make any material look good, but yeah, he's gonna go places, and I just wish the script could be better. But I really think that people would have kind of like the same perspective that I do. Like the script wasn't that good, but he was awesome in it.
Yeah, he really was. And, it is kind of interesting because I think that this is one of those films, and there are going to be films like this. There's going to be B films. And I kind of said it was like a B film in a
Yeah.
sense, which I think we do need B films. But something else that I thought was very strange, or at least I had thought about it, and you probably are, well, pretty much everybody I'm sure might have thought about this, is that he is kind of innocent in this character. Like he's very, very innocent. And I almost wondered if this character was not ready for anything more than sort of like this light adventure, if you will, this sort of just dipping his toes into the well of what Blue Beetle might be. And I agree in regards to the script, he certainly could handle much better than this. And I think we will see more complicated, more sophisticated roles, more mature roles from him. um,
Hmm.
but I almost wondered whether they wanted this Blue Beetle character to still be very young and kind of not experiencing anything too heavy. I wondered about that. And I mean, what do you think? Do you think that they purposely held back us to not kind of like age him in this? Because he still feels very, I mean, it's true he has this thing inserted in his back and everything. I'm
Hmm.
not overlooking that, but
Hmm.
certainly it doesn't feel as mature of a character. Um, let's say from the first point where he gets this thing in his back to now, it doesn't feel like he has grown very much. What do you think?
If I use a Marvel analogy, and I will because I'm a Marvel girl, think of Peter Parker, Spider-Man 1. when we see him, and he's trying to help his Aunt May out, and he's trying to figure out what he knows what he's going to do after graduation, but they're kind of like at that point. So Jaime Reyes is at that same point. You with him, he's graduated from college. It's obvious that his family, a working class family, which I could relate to because mine was, put all of this into putting him through school, and he just wants to be able to come home, get a job making much money, and help his family. And it just turns out that he's like, I got to work at this freaking country club with these rich pendejos instead of doing what I want to do. And that's a very coming of age relatable thing. I think because it was going to the streaming service, well, maybe not the streaming service, but if you go back to the comics, from what I was able to research, because you had two incarnations of Blue Beetle, which is pretty much, the superhero crime fighting kid, all that other stuff. And then it comes with this younger guy, who's Mexican American, grew up in El Paso, Texas. So I think they're going for a younger demographic here. So I think that's pretty much why. And you can have a superhero story that is not particularly heavy. I mean, they did it with Shazam, so they could do it with this. But I think the script needed more time to cook, and like they got the family part right. Boom, that was down. But they needed to get the superhero part. And since that didn't really stick the landing that much, that's kind of what makes it perfect for HBO Max, because while this film did not come out the gate making enough money, especially I think the budget was, I think, like 100 and something. So you have the budget, then you have the advertising budget, then of course the theaters get their cut. So I think this film is going to find better legs on streaming where it was originally intended. Long explanation, but I do think that they are skewing younger. One, because of the way that it went in the comics, and two, just because if you look at the Flash and you look at Shazam for the gods, and they're kind of going that way.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, and I also want to ask your opinion on this. And I kind of feel like it could happen if they waited 2 or 3 years, maybe longer. Blue Beetle Part Two, obviously, maybe not necessarily focusing on his family, but now he's done, more involved with that young lady in the story,
Hmm.
and now they can work on something that it has a little bit more gravity to it. Not that this one couldn't have had it, but
Right.
where his level of responsibility is greater, and certainly the stakes are maybe a little bit higher. In the next film, I think it could happen. Do you think that that's a possibility?
I think that's very much a possibility considering how they have it set up. Like I said in my review, there's a post-credit scene. Yeah, spoiler, sorry if I haven't seen it yet, where Jenny Cord's father, Blue Beetle number two, he's basically quote unquote stuck in the matrix, for lack of a better term. And you hear his voice trying to, materialize. And then it finally gets out and he says, who he is. And if you're hearing this, my daughter is in danger. You need to protect her at all costs. I'm like, oh, okay. So if they do a sequel, Bay's in trouble and the stakes are higher. So let's see what we do. So it's set up to, I believe, actually be a bit darker. Again, Spider-Man 2. I love you, Toby. Oh my gosh. Same deal. Kind of what happens there. Now that you're a superhero, now what? You have to balance all of that stuff. So could be darker. So hopefully they'll get the chance to do that.
Absolutely, Lorena. And there is one thing that happens in the film. I'm not going to say what it is because I want to spoil it for people, but something happens in the film that is a tragedy, and I'm still like upset about it. But that's okay. Like I'm not going to freak out. But I was upset when I saw it, and it is what it is. But certainly, I have a feeling no matter what happens with the Blue Beetle character, he's always going to be surrounded by his family. And certainly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It looks like he needed somebody to have his back, and they were there. That was so enjoyable to see the grandmother with her rallying cry.
I love Nana, but can I just say I get why they did it. It was funny, but as soon as she started talking, I'm like, she's Mexican, so why does she sound like a Sandinista? Because that was the intended right. That's exactly what she sounded like. But I said I'll allow it because it was freaking funny. Everything going on around her, and she just seems kind of oblivious, like, oh, I'm just a grandma and all of that. And then she starts getting real specific and holding heavy weapons and explaining how they're going to infiltrate. Like, she's like, oh, I had another life.
Yeah, all the truth about her comes out, and certainly that was interesting to see. And someone did ask me over the weekend whether I thought the film was authentic. And guys, of course, as you know, this is a Latino family, and this is what I'm mainly talking about when it comes to authenticity, not whether it's authentic to Blue Beetle or anything like that. I could never
Mhm.
answer that question. But that was a good point that you made, Lorena, because I had to say that I didn't know whether it was authentic or not, because there were a lot of Latino references in there, and I couldn't tell whether in the context they were placed, whether it made any sense or not, whether it was accurate or true to whatever. So all I remember exactly is Maria La de la Barrio. That's all I remember. I remember watching Thalia in that for many years, and but beyond that,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Except she's the rich white guy, and you're the poor chick without a pot to piss, and I was dying. All
that
right.
is correct. And so, I thought it was very interesting that they put that in there, and obviously it was put in because they knew that a certain crowd would be watching that. You and I happen to have watched it, but I think it is very interesting when it comes to trying to appeal to a certain demographic. And for the most part, would you say that they did a good job in doing that, even if it may not have had 100% authenticity?
Um, I would say yes and no. With If I did not know Jaime Reyes's background, I would say yes. But when the family is obviously Mexican American, and like their region, El Paso, Southwest, so you're expecting to see that in the visuals. Instead, in the visuals, I'm seeing the Caribbean. I'm seeing Ponce.
Miami.
I'm seeing Miami. I'm just like the
Cuba.
same flyover. It looked like Miami, and I'm just like, are we in Texas? Are we in the Caribbean? It Me knowing what I know and knowing what I've seen, that part did throw me off. A couple of references, like for example, when I think his sister gives him a ration of crap that he can't dance salsa. And I'm in a theater with predominantly Puerto Ricans who were like, why is this Mexican kid dancing? Why is he worried about salsa? Shouldn't it be like Tejano? Shouldn't
Yeah,
it be
definitely
banda music or something? So it was kind of like, that doesn't quite seem right. And in addition to that, because you're not really paying homage to exactly where salsa came from with that. For people who don't know, they would think that salsa is a Mexican dance, and it's not. It has Afro Latino roots. Most basically grew out of Cuba and the Dominican Republic. So even if it's a quote unquote fictional city, Palmyra City, even if it is fictional, the corner that you got painted in is the makeup of the family. And that's what should stay consistent. In that they tried to make it pan Latino, which in a way is not very fair, because there's different Latino experiences. Not all Latinos have had this particular immigrant experience. They're not all the same. So while I could see what they were trying to do, it didn't really come off well. And I think if they really had just stayed with that, that would have worked. That would have worked fine. But for your casual viewer, they're really not going to. They're really not going to know.
Well, I wasn't surprised that we saw Thalia in it, because she's such a big star. And I actually wouldn't have been surprised if we saw the actual Thalia in the movie, because you never know. Sometimes they bring in stars into movies like this. And that would have certainly distinguished this film, I think, from a lot of other superhero films we've seen. But I think you're right on that. And it was interesting for them to try and see their take on how they were going to kind of mix this all together, which is what it is. It's a mix of different things together, trying to do that. But, you know, not only looking at Blue Beetle, but even looking at the box office so far, a lot of films aren't doing too badly, Lorena. And I'm just going to pull up, I hope I can pull this up. Kind of like, where the box office is right now. I'm just going to pull it up here. And as we've already discussed, Blue Beetle has made 25 million domestic, but 20 million internationally, which is 45 million. Oppenheimer around 700 million. Meg 2 is also doing well, still doing incredibly
I believe
good.
it.
I mean, a lot of these films are just really, and this is not the international one. Did I pull it up? I didn't pull it up, but these films, people are still going to see movies, even though school has started in at least half of the United States, right? And even though, I guess technically speaking, kids are off in college and it's the end of the summer, more or less, people are still going to see films. And I think it's going to continue probably up until Thanksgiving. This is my prediction. I think September is going to be a very successful month as well for movies. I hope, I'm praying it will continue on. And then October will kind of dip down. And then, maybe Thanksgiving, we'll have some Thanksgiving releases or something like that. But it is great to see what's been going on with these films. And of course, I think that Blue Beetle will continue to make money, but it cost $120 million to make that film. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Was a little bit more. And so, it's like they have a little bit higher up in the way to make their returns. Oppenheimer in the $700 million worldwide. I think that's a huge amount of money for a 3-hour film. That is actually quite impressive. Also, I can't remember, I had the list here, but so many films seem to be performing. And with this incredible summer that it's been of movies, Lorena, just, even The Sound of Freedom is up to 175 million, which is like a ridiculous amount of money for that movie. It's like it hit $1 billion for that movie because it only cost 14 million to make that one. But with this being said, of course, there's a lot of talk about Oscars, and Oppenheimer for me is the breakthrough one where I think we're going to see a lot of nominations. And of course, Lorena, as you and I know, there are all sorts of rules for the Oscars now. It's not like it was before, where any film could just be nominated, essentially, if it fell like within a certain parameter, like time period. But we don't have that necessarily as the rules anymore for Oscars. There's all sorts of extraneous rules. And when I say extraneous, recently, how they changed some of it. But it turns out that something else happened in regards to whether or not you can go ahead and put your movie in for Oscars. And what we're talking about has to do with the rules that were made a few years ago that have to do with, they call it diversity and inclusion. They believe, I'm saying, when I say they, I mean the Oscar voting group who came up with this rule believe that this is the way things should go. Now, where on earth is this thing? But I think it's a huge mistake in the sense of what it's becoming. And of course, it's no surprise that they made an exception, and the exception that you and I are going to start talking about has to do with this option that they've given people. It has to do with what the Academy has decided to do. And I think honestly, they're doing it because they felt pressure and realized that the standards that they're holding people to are not correct. But it has to do with this here. Here's the article. It has to do with Academy will now let films bypass inclusion report. But in order to do that, if your film is not inclusive and you don't hand in that paper that says it's inclusive, you can't put in for Best Picture.
This is Hollywood shooting themselves in the freaking foot. I, I'm going to ask, and I'm being completely honest when I ask this. Um, what makes you think that just because the film is quote unquote inclusive means that it's better than anything else? I'll go back 30 years. Um, Do the Right Thing, which we just did a watch party for, right? Predominantly black film. Would you not have something like that submitted for Best Picture because there weren't enough Asians in it? You know, I think this is so restricting the growth of true art that the Academy really should be ashamed of themselves for this. It's just it's just so stifling. Like there's so many great movies and things that are, you know, that are out there and films that are out there. So what is it? Like say if there's a film, a foreign film, like say from one of my favorite places, South Korea. Are you not going to admit that because it's not inclusive? It
Yeah,
really is a shame.
yeah, we know this is wrong. We know this is
Yeah,
totally, we all know this is wrong. And I don't like where it's going. I especially feel that it's specific because they want to not include films, but I think they just purposely want to exclude them here because there was never a rule before that you couldn't put your film in for Best Picture. For
exactly. None.
absolutely any film could qualify for this. And now we're finding out, hey, by the way, if you don't have an inclusive film, don't worry, you can put in for the awards, just not the best award, the one that every film wants to win for, Best Picture. I mean, that totally right there tells you that they're saying that they think that only a select group of pictures deserve to be nominated for this. What about
Exactly.
the film that won a few years? Gosh, I can't remember all the names of the movies that won, but many of them are not diverse, as you said, Lorraine.
Parasite?
Yes,
Was it
that's the one.
Parasite?
You know,
Yeah.
you read my mind. What about Parasite? That was not in a diverse film. It's a foreign
Mhm.
film that won for Best Picture. Um, and there's another, and there, of course, there's one more. There's also a foreign film that won for Best Picture. It made in Mexico, and I think you know the one that I'm talking about. And I can't remember the name of it, but it doesn't matter. The point is, the entire cast is Mexican, and it's a story about Mexicans. I guess you can't put that one in for Best Picture. You know, it's really heartbreaking. Lorena, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And it is quite very well pointed at the Best Picture. Will Oppenheimer be able to be submitted?
I would say no, according to their standards.
But, you know, we all agree that Oppenheimer has had some of the best performances this year. I would imagine Cillian
Absolutely.
Murphy should be nominated for, you know, well,
Absolutely.
but his movie, the movie Nolan, can't get an award for this because I guess they'll say it's not diverse enough. Well, guess historically, those people who were in the film might have been from one particular group. But what is this saying? um, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know what to even think about this. Is this going to affect? I mean, this could have a huge effect, I guess, on a lot of things, on people's careers, on, you know, the fact that work isn't recognized. You know, sometimes, Lorena, a movie
Mm.
comes out, we were not expecting it to win Best Picture, and then it wins. And we
Mhm.
don't care about who made it and, you know, what the ethnicities are and the people who worked on it. None of us care. It would be like a brilliant film. You're like, wow, that's incredible. So I think this is really something that is terrible, you know. And I'm just going to look at the article, Lorena. It goes on to say, thanks to a quiet change in enforcement protocols, featured films
Mm.
entered in this year's Academy contest will be able to avoid reporting gender, race, and disability data required by the new inclusion standards governing Best Picture contenders simply by opting out of contention for the top Oscar. The policy shift, which became apparent in recent changes to the frequently asked questions addendum to the Academy's representation and inclusion standards entry platform, could free dozens or even hundreds of films for vying for Oscars other than Best Picture from a previously declared requirement. All 300 or so awards contenders submit identity data regardless of their. And you know what the Academy is going to say about this? Well, this is a good thing because at least they're not excluded from the other awards. We're giving them a chance, even though they're not inclusive, to at least qualify for some of the awards, but we kind of feel like they probably shouldn't really qualify for any award. I think that's what this is saying, because they want to make it seem like they're making a compromise, but this is not a fair compromise.
No, this isn't a compromise. This is basically, I will say it. It's basically blacklisting, in a way. Just, you don't qualify for this, but we'll give you a gold star. We'll give you a gold star, and you can sit over there at the at the kids table while the films that are quote unquote inclusive will nominate for Best Picture. The Academy already does not look good in the eyes of a lot of people, and this does not help their image. So if they keep going this route, other award shows like Independent Spirit, like the Golden Globe Awards, they are going to rise more in prominence, I think, because of what the Academy is doing. It used to be an Academy Award was a really big deal. Now people are kind of like, considering what they're starting to do, is it really?
Yeah, it is something to think about. And guys, I have Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel link there, guys. Please subscribe to the moderator
Ooh.
here, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all goof people. Please take some time out today and just make sure you subscribe to his channel. He has great reviews. Tom, we are all goof people. Looking at this and going on further in the article, it says until recently. Oh, I think I read that. I'll read it again. Until recently, the Academy's Facts Advisory noted that all features submitted for Oscar consideration were required to report detailed
Mhm.
identity data on the platform, because the Academy was unable to say in advance which films might actually wind up in the Best Picture race, the only category for which the inclusion standards will be enforced. By this week, however, that provision had been replaced with a new answer to question 13, which asks, am I required to create a raised admission for a film that I don't want to be considered for Best Picture? The answer is you will have the option to opt in or opt out for Best Picture consideration. If you decide to opt out, then you do not need to fill in a raise form. And so, the officials didn't
Mm.
say anything about, the comment for this, but, this was such a bad idea from start to finish that I think that this is really going to burn them. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think this might be something that they could put in for discrimination.
Oh
Certainly,
yeah,
certainly,
100%.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like this. And this is kind of not the best time for Hollywood to even be dealing with this. But this might be something that some people might consider putting in for, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But certainly, I don't think anything should exclude you from being able to put in for any Academy Award if your film qualifies for
Mhm.
it. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I was just so shocked when I read that, and that people aren't saying, well, this is wrong. This is completely wrong. You can't even put your film in for Best Picture. The one award that everybody wants.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to win for Best Picture, whether you're a comedy or a drama. It does not matter. That's the one award everybody wants to win.
Right.
It really makes me concerned, because by using this raise thing as a criteria for qualification, it would
Mhm.
exclude probably 10 of the last films that won. It would
Yeah.
exclude Moonlight. You remember Moonlight won for Best
Mhm.
Picture, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it did.
that was almost an entirely Black cast, and it wouldn't make it. Mahershala Ali starred in that film. It would not make it. Wouldn't even be considered as a film that would be inclusive, because it isn't. The cast are all the same demographic. You and I could go on and on and on about this, Lorena. I just okay. I'm okay.
It's a mess, and honestly, I hope that Christopher Nolan, this is just me because Oppenheimer's out there, I want him to submit that sucker for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, submit it, and just say, "No, I'm not filling out a raise form," or fill it out and just put "non-applicable" in every single section. It didn't say you had to fill it out completely or whatever, but it's going to take directors who have more weight in Hollywood to actually have the gravitas to say, "You know what, screw this, then this is ridiculous." People need to call it out for what it is.
I
which is
agree.
absolutely discrimination. It really is. The Academy, you're supposed to be about the art, not the minutia of the art.
Well, you know something? There might be some other odd loopholes in the nomination process that we're unaware of that are in the rules right now. So it will be interesting to see what happens as this whole process goes on, because a lot of these nominations are shoe-ins. Oppenheimer for Best Picture, shoe-in
Yep,
nomination. Um,
absolutely.
Cillian Murphy for Best Actor, shoe-in nomination. Oh wait,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the Best Actor part will also be actor and actress are also roles that you can't apply for if your movie isn't diverse. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about here, and that's what really has got me kind of freaked out by it. But now, interestingly enough, there is a biopic on a famous musician that we all know, Leonard
Mm-hmm.
Bernstein,
Yes.
who is famous for making so many songs in the American. Oh wow, wow. Thank you, Tom, for the $5.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much for my favorite billowing queen of pop culture and queen of all things Florida. My
Mm.
two favorite ladies who get rid of the case of the Mondays. That's right. Those
Ah,
Mondays are gone. They're
yeah.
gone.
Thank you, Tom. So sweet of you. Thank you.
We so appreciate the super chat, guys. And remember to subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. Tom, we are all goof people. So, you know, Lorena, I'm not surprised that they were making a biopic about Leonard Bernstein, a man whose songs are in the American songbook, a lot of tunes that we've grown up with and loved.
Mm-hmm.
But what's so weird is the fact that there's a casting for the part,
Mm-hmm.
played, of course, by Bradley Cooper, a great actor, who wears a prosthesis to play Bernstein, and it's creating a controversy. Um, However, the irony of all this is that the children like it. I think they probably are looking at Bradley Cooper with the prosthesis on and saying, yeah, that's dad. You know what I mean? Like, he looks so much like dad. Wow. Look at,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very funny that they're up there saying, hell no, he looks great with this thing on. And of course, there is not on that side. I think that's Bernthal. Right here is Bradley Cooper, and he does obviously look different. He's playing an older person, I think, in that role.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
he's wearing a prosthetic nose on his face, and the article starts off that Bradley Cooper was hit pretty much immediately with controversy as he unveiled a first look at his forthcoming Netflix pick Maestro, when the internet encountered a large prosthetic nose he'd adopted to portray legendary composer and conductor Leonard Bernstein. Now it's not Bradley Cooper's decision. He's playing the role. Someone in the movie, the production designer or whomever, decided that he'd be wearing this. And
Mm-hmm.
now Bernstein's children have come to Bradley Cooper's defense. And it says Bradley Cooper included the three of us along every step of this amazing journey as he made
Mm-hmm.
this film about our father. Maybe he is a producer director, and I apologize if I got that wrong. But wrote Jamie, Alexander, and Nina Bernstein in a statement posted on their late father's page.
Twitter.
Yes, I wasn't.
I had to look at that again. The what? Yeah,
Yeah.
Twitter. Twitter.
I was like, X. I'm like, okay. We were touched to the core to witness the depth of his commitment, his loving embrace of our father's music, and the sheer open hearted joy he brought to his exploration. It breaks our hearts, the trio continued, to see any misrepresentations or misunderstandings of his efforts. It happens to be
Mm-hmm.
true that Leonard Bernstein had a nice big nose. Good for you, Bernstein family. Bradley chose to use makeup to amplify his resemblance. Okay, it was Bradley's decision, and we're perfectly fine with that. The Bernsteins further expressed their belief that their father would have been fine with the use of prosthetics, and that any strident complaints about his issue are perhaps disingenuous attempts to bring a successful person down a notch, a practice we all observe too often perpetrated on our own father. At all times during making of the film, we could feel the profound respect and, yes, the love Bradley brought to his portrait of Leonard Bernstein and his wife, our mother Felicia. We feel so fortunate to have had this
Mm-hmm.
experience with Bradley, and we can't wait for the world to see his creation, Lorena. I can't think of a more um, supportive answer from a family about a portrayal. First of all, it's an honor to have anybody make a biopic of a loved one, as
Right.
and certainly Leonard Bernstein deserves this. You know, I almost have to wonder, sometimes we see a lot of misdirected and and just also trolling people who do things like this. This can't be spurned from, I don't know what's spurning this. Why can't people just be happy about this film? The family is happy about it. In fact, they support it. It's certainly not meant to
Hmm.
hurt anybody's feelings. Why can't they just take the word of the family and of the production company that this was not meant in a bad way? Lorena, what do you make of this?
Well, first of all, Twitter and X is not real life. You have people who feel that they should be outraged on behalf of people who never asked them to be outraged. Welcome to another day on the internet. These are some of the same people who thought that Sandra Bullock should have her, was it her, I think with her Oscar taken away from for her for The Blind Side, because apparently there's some controversy going on with the Choi family. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Go out and touch some grass. I mean, really, why get outraged because they made an artistic decision? They probably looked at the shots, looked at, what Leonard Bernstein looked like in real life, and it's like, you know what, this is the job of special effects, practical effects, makeup. Like, we can make it look even more realistic. So why don't we go ahead and do this? The same process that they use to turn people into aliens for sci-fi shows. There's prosthetics and everything else that they have to put on. So I don't see the problem either. It's a shame, although I'm glad to see it, that the family had to come out and basically say, we don't have a problem with it. So why do you have a problem with it? It makes absolutely zero sense. But then again, it's kind of one of those diseases of the internet. What are we outraged about today? for no for no reason. I think some people were like, "Oh, well, it reinforces a Jewish stereotype." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I mean, where is that coming from at all? Either he looks like the guy. If he doesn't quite look like the guy, then guess what? They're going to correct it so that he does look like the guy. So, if anything, I think that's projection on their part, and it's ridiculous."
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, something that I kind of wondered too is, a lot of the people who are saying this may not even be fans of Leonard Bernstein's work or even know who he is. Certainly, his music has pretty much been one of the most important musical influences in America. But I just am so flabbergasted by the intention, because if it were done and we had no explanation about it, or if Leonard Bernstein didn't actually look like this, or if the
Hmm.
family, didn't mention that they talked to Bradley about this, I
Hmm.
could understand people asking questions. But to say that the purpose of using it was one thing when we know that that wasn't the truth, I'm starting to ask the question of, what is the real motivation? And I want this film to be success. Of course, it's going on Netflix, but I want it to have high ratings. I want it to be number one. I don't even know if it's out yet, but honestly, I just thought that that was so disingenuous when it comes to looking at a film and just
Hmm.
acknowledging what somebody actually looks like. So we're not okay that he has a big nose. I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? Like, I love this man's music, and the way he looks is the way he looks. We're all good with it. So
Yeah,
what's the problem?
I don't get it. But then again, it's the quote unquote internet. It's a small corner of the internet which is making the most noise about this, and it's a non-issue. I can't wait to see when this comes out because I love this man's music.
He's incredible. He's incredible. And, I think, certainly you and I grew up with listening to his music. But there are
Mm-hmm.
generations now that don't know it. I mean, even commercials that we grew up with used a lot of the tunes from his music. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
and other movies would reference back to his music. So that's something else to think about. And certainly it's going to be a movie that is needed, especially for generations that are unfamiliar with his work. But this is just something that I had to mention because it's getting ridiculous. This is kind of silly. And we all know what the man looked like. And I think that the family is proud of what he looked like. There certainly is no situation or scenario where they're not proud of how their father looked, and I think it's a good thing for us to see what he actually looked like. I think that's fun to represent that in a way that is appropriate and has already been discussed with the family. So that's coming up. And you had mentioned, and I should pull that one up too, because it was just so ridiculous, Lorena, was about Sandra Bullock and the notion that she should even have anything to do with this blindside controversy, which has absolutely nothing to do with her. And certainly, that it just goes to a point where it goes too far a lot of times. So as you were saying, and here, and I'm having difficulty even saying this, but essentially what happened was after the young man who is the football player reported that he feels that there has been some mismoney management in regards to the estate
Mm-hmm.
and the story of the blind side and even the use of his name. Somehow people are equating that with some sort of failure on regards to Sandra Bullock. It has nothing to do with her. She doesn't have anything to do with,
Zero to do with her.
and I think that that's also very interesting because there's this desire for when some individuals hear something like this, they feel that they have to do certain things to correct things. And here it
Mm-hmm.
says she's been the target of trolls among the blindside situation. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People pretty much attacking her. I can't find a decent article about it, but yeah, here it is. Maybe this one will pop up. Is it going to work? Because this would be a miracle. Because I can never check out an article and it pops up. Usually, I get all sorts of crazy things popping up, or I can't see the article. Yeah, this one I can't. I can't really see it well, but let me see if I can pull it up here. And it's from the New York Post. And yeah, here it is. Okay, so if anything else pops up, guys, please forgive me. Okay. I didn't plan. I gotta say
Doing
it.
good. No worries.
Something else pops up, like jewelry or clothing or whatever else is in there. And here it does say, the Post actually has a lot of advertisement. Sandra Bullock is subjected to online hate amid shocking blindside claims. Now, I'm not so shocked about the blindside claims because disputes about money happen in families even when they get
This
along.
is true. Yes.
So, I think that can happen. And also, people's estate situations change. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when people sign these documents, I'm not saying he who's right or wrong. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is
Right.
sometimes when you get into these contractual agreements, there can be other things in it that won't work in the next 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. A lot of the things do have to be renegotiated and changed. And this might be a situation like that. I'm not sure. They might have gone to the table many times. Certainly none of us know everything that's going on here, but certainly Sandra
Mm-hmm.
Bullock has nothing to do with this. And the notion of anybody even bringing her into this is ridiculous. Not unlike the Bernstein biopic kerfuffle, Sandra doesn't have anything to do with this. And here it goes on to say she was blindsided. Of course, they're making a joke
Mm-hmm.
about it, but it's not
Right.
in the sense because of what this is bringing down on her. And it says that the 37-year-old offensive tackle has essentially made claims about this, but now she's being brought up into this unfairly. Here it says she doesn't deserve this. He actually came out and I think in an interview said, or some broadcaster said, she doesn't deserve any of this stuff. And there, of course, is Sandra Bullock there. And certainly, I don't understand why this seems to be happening, even though it seems like the owner of, this social media platform has changed. And then now we found out something about not being able to do blocks on the social media platform. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that this platform, while it has a new name, I hope it's not going to necessarily continue a lot of this kind of behavior. I wonder about that, but it is something to think about. But certainly, I don't even know what to think. Will that? What if this biopic is incredible and they want to nominate it for awards? Will it be able to be nominated?
Very good question.
you know I have to wonder about this, and certainly it is disturbing to me. But and the other thing I was going to say is I finally did find my list of international box office is, and of course now I've lost it. Let me just pull it up, because it when you see the numbers, you start to realize it's like, wow, the box office is doing incredibly well. In fact, there was one, I read one box office story, and you probably saw it too, Lorena. This box office that said, hey, we've made the most we've ever made ever, like,
Mm-hmm.
and they were celebrating like, we've never made this much money before. And I like to hear stories like that, from pretty much from anybody, especially in entertainment. But oh my goodness, where is this thing? Oh, I had it up. Did I have it up here all along? No, I didn't. I can't find it. But the point is, the box office is doing well. Even a few films that I wasn't expecting to continue to make money are still making money. So I don't know if anybody's talking about that, but I'm just glad to see. I'm just glad to see the cash flow, and I'm glad to see the bank rolling, and I'm glad to see all this stuff. Oh, here it is. Oh, for heaven's sake, Lorena, help me. All right. So here it is.
You got it?
Yeah, I got
I
it.
can get it for you.
Thank you, Lorena. I got it. It took me a while. It was there all along. Okay. So this is, I just wanted to look at the worldwide box office. This is going to be small. No one's going to be able to read this. But the point that
Mm-hmm.
I'm making is that Super Mario Brothers made an impressive 1.3 billion, and they are obviously still making money. I see the movie I think it is still in theaters, right, Lorena? Or is it
Which one?
a Super Mario?
No, that is I haven't seen it in theaters. It seems to be now just on streaming. I could be wrong, but I was at Universal City Walk on Saturday, and I don't remember seeing that on the marquee for the Cinemark Theater.
So our anticipation, yours and my anticipation, is that it will still make money through rentals. It'll still make money through merchandise. It's still going to make money this
Oh
year.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Look at how much it made even in the foreign market, $780 million. That's a huge amount, Lorena.
That
And
was to be expected because it's a Japanese IP.
yeah, and it's going to keep going. Barbie's still going. Guardians of the Galaxy, this is the one that I wanted to point out. At 845 million worldwide. That's huge, Lorena. That's a lot of money. I'm keeping my fingers that it's going to continue, who knows, rentals and things like that. Oppenheimer is at 718. Fast
Hmm.
X, I think they were expected to make more than 704, but it is up there.
Yeah, it's got a lot of international traction going on. But the Fast and the Furious series has always performed better overseas than domestic.
And the last film, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, another animated feature, the
Hmm.
second in the series. I wonder, I guess maybe it would be nominated because it is diverse. Does animation fall into this too? Not that I have no idea.
It would be animation, just like the Academy really doesn't award like best picture, really, from what I recall, for animation. I think that's why they split animation out to its own category.
Yeah, they do have best animated feature. And what I was curious about is, does that also fall into the category, since they only just found out about the best picture opt out because someone had asked a miscellaneous question.
Hmm.
So I'm curious as to how many things did fall into that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's my biggest fear, is on the award ceremony, because I'm going to be watching that, in a dress with glitter and my hair done up for the for the award ceremony. And I hope you'll be joining me on my channel. I'm wondering if we're going to get a lot of surprises on that day, Lorena.
It's very, very, very possible. Going
All
to be
right.
interesting to see.
It is interesting to see. I think that this chart shows, that movies are making money. There's money to be made. They're going to continue to do. I hope this, like I said, rolls right on to Thanksgiving time or November, late November, for those of us who, not everybody celebrates Thanksgiving. But I just
Mhm.
like to see numbers like this. This makes me very happy. And, of course, I think it's going to get even better for the box office. But Lorena, thank you for joining me here today. Where can people find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever, and you can find me on YouTube, various live streams and videos with very, very spicy commentary, especially my review of Blue Beetles. Please do check that out. And of course, you also see me in the theme parks for theme park streams as well. This past weekend, we got to check out what's getting put together for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando and got to walk through what they have put together so far for The Last of Us haunted house. So please do check those out. Of course, you can see and I on Thursdays at 5 p.m. over on my Twitch channel for Toxic Male Appreciation. And we're going to be talking Johnny Depp this week. And at 6 p.m., you can catch me on WDW Pro's live show for the second hour of that one. And no park live stream for me Saturday morning, but Saturday evening, I will be live streaming from the annual pass holder appreciation night over at Islands of Adventure, Universal Orlando. They're letting a select group of us crazy pass holders take over the park for about 5 hours. And I'm looking forward to riding a Velocicoaster like 5 times in a row. I'm going to make that happen, speak that into existence.
It sounds absolutely wonderful, Lorena. Guys, please do subscribe to Lorena Creole's channel and check out all those wonderful things on the channel. Guys, please subscribe to my channel, Positive Fandom, where I do all the parlay in the fandom. I got my Sunday brunch show on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Lorena. Lorena and I just finished a live watch party for Outlander. We're going to be doing more live watch parties for the other seasons of Outlander on my channel, but I also do a historical films review with Darth Plato on Thursdays at 6 p.m. after I do Toxic Male Appreciation with Lorena on her channel. Certainly do look forward to that. Lorena, you and I are going to be doing watch parties. We're going to be back here for Ladies of the PGS, not on the holiday weekend, but the Monday after the holiday. No, I'm not saying the Monday, September 11th or 12th, I think it is. We're going to be back for Ladies of the PGS. So we'll be off next week because it's a holiday. But
Yes.
certainly hope all of you have a great holiday out there, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the Burnettwork, and also please subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's channel. Tom Jr. Jackson is a member of the Burnettwork and part of the Burnettwork, guys. So please make sure you subscribe to him. He works incredibly hard on making the channel a success for all of us here.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks,
is
Tom.
greatly appreciated. We are all good people. And thank you for the super chat. And everybody out there, thank you for everything. Hope you all are well. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.
Bye.